Welcome to Please Me, the podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last week, I spoke with my fellow SDC educator, Lauren Hayes, who talked about her experience as a swinger and educator for the lifestyle community. She talked about what the monogamous community could learn from the ENM community, and I have to say there are incredible takeaways from this episode, so be sure to go back and listen. The previous episode was with Max Carey, the film director of Touch Kink, and I will be offering a virtual screening of his movie this Sunday, November 10th. So you can watch from anywhere in the world. Check show notes to buy your tickets today. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
Because I know that a lot of people, they think anal sex is like icky, and I personally think that preparing for anal sex with an enema is icky. And if that was the case, I would never want to have anal sex.
Well, in general, I always encourage eating a reasonably high fiber diet for your sex life. In general, it just keeps you feeling energized and it banishes bloat and all of those things. Whether it's for anal sex or whether it's to avoid being bloated, whatever it is, hydration is huge.
Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Amy Reiley to the show. She is an aphrodisiac food expert. She offers an evidence-based solution to helping people use food to improve their sex lives. And if anything gets a physical therapist or anyone in the medical field excited, it's the words evidence-based. So I just want to welcome you to the show, Amy. How are you today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Me too.
And it will be evidence-based.
Yes, absolutely. We always like those technicalities. We've been hearing about aphrodisiac foods for as long as I can remember. Mm-hmm. And I love to talk about nutrition and how having a healthy body is going to help you to have a healthy sex life. And I talk about foods that can help your blood flow, etc. Right. So I want to talk about a watermelon challenge that I often talk to with my clients. And I often will tell them to eat 4 cups of watermelon every day for a week and see how that affects their erectile function. Yeah. Or their vaginal dryness. I would love to get your thoughts on watermelon as a superfood for sex.
I love this challenge. So yes, not obviously, but you and I know watermelon is fabulous for your sex life. It's good for heart health. It's good for hydration. I have a list on my website, Eat Something Sexy, of the 10 best foods for men's sexual health. And watermelon is right up that for sure top 5. For men.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Yes. And there are so many reasons. There are studies about the lycopene in watermelon and men's sexual health. There are studies about the citrulline in watermelon, which is another phytonutrient. Most people have heard of lycopene, of course, but you may not have heard of citrulline. And that's it's a phytonutrient found in watermelon, concentrated close to the rind, actually, that has in studies shown effectiveness in supporting men's sexual health and men's erectile function. Yeah. And of course, although the majority of studies are on men, because their problems in the bedroom are much more obvious than women's, most of the benefits that you'll get from watermelon and other nutrient-rich foods that are good for sexual health, women will also benefit from them. Obviously, women will benefit from the heart health elements, fiber and hydration. So yeah, it's a good one.
Absolutely. And the blood flow, right? Because if citrulline opens up the blood vessels, and increases blood flow, it's going to increase blood flow to the penis and the clitoris, which is...
Yes, I was not specific enough there. I just mentioned all the heart health benefits. So
no, absolutely. It helps the clitoris get engorged, which isn't necessary for the female to get arousal cycle. So yeah, absolutely.
So yes, anytime we talk about a food, and usually it's done in the context of men's health, heart health, or sexual health. Anytime you talk about a food that is good for circulation or that supports heart health, women are going to have the same benefits. Yes, sexually our function is a little different, but we need the blood flow as well for sexual arousal and for sexual climax. And it's probably not talked about enough.
100%. And it's funny that you say that most of the studies have been done on men and how a man's sexual function is more obvious than a woman's because they're not getting erect. Right? But how much more obvious is the orgasm gap, right? Where men are having lots of orgasms and women aren't. And somehow we're ignoring that, right? So I love to talk about the orgasm gap and how we can close that gap for people, one person at a time through education. So I would love to know some more recipes, some more ideas to incorporate watermelon into our diets. Because I know I just say throw it in a blender and drink it, but there's got to be more interesting things than that.
I love watermelon juice. That's one of my favorites too. But I would say add a squeeze of lemon or lime.
Okay, adding some.
It's that much more delicious. Yes.
Okay.
So that's a good one. Watermelon is far more versatile than most people think. You can grill watermelon and add it to a salad with arugula. It's also delicious with tomatoes. So you could just have a fresh tomato and watermelon salad.
Let's see. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Well, I have tomatoes in my refrigerator right now. That's a great idea. Yeah. Those little tiny ones. That sounds so
lovely. Yeah. So that's another way you can use it for sure.
And I love grilled watermelon. And actually, it's something that I recently tried, grilled watermelon steaks, and they're so delicious. And you can put spices on them, savory spices that can change the taste of them, which I thought was so interesting. And it was way more filling than I thought it would be.
That is true. That is so true. Especially if you're going to baste it with some olive oil, add some spices. Yes, if it becomes almost a meal or a very hearty snack. You can also baste it with a combination of oil and honey and make it a dessert. Maybe sprinkle it with a little mint. So that's another way. So grill it, baste it, grill it, sprinkle it with mint. That's delicious too. And I thought of another, but now it's flown out. Oh, well, I was going to say, I live in Southern California, and the most popular way to do watermelon here is to just sprinkle it with tahini, which is a spice blend. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a spice and salt blend.
I've heard that people do that with the mango. Yes. And I've never actually tried it, but something to try too. And I love in the summertime a good cold gazpacho. And I feel like watermelon can also lend itself to a cold soup, right?
Absolutely. We actually have a recipe on my website for a watermelon gazpacho with this addition. You add a little cacao nib on top as a garnish. So you have the crunch. This garnish. Yeah.
What a great idea. And that leads me to talking about chocolate, right? Because cacao nibs come from the cacao. Is it a nut or is it a pod? I don't know.
Fruit. It's a pod. Cacao's a fruit. Yeah.
It's where chocolate comes from, right? And chocolate has always been known as an aphrodisiac. So let's talk about chocolate a little bit.
So chocolate is one of my favorite foods to talk about. And in fact, dark chocolate makes my list of the 10 best foods for women's sexual health. So now I've got one from the men's list and one from the women's list.
It's funny that you say that because chocolate, I always thought of chocolate as being like something that you want to eat when you're on your period because you just crave it. So sometimes it's the nutrition of the food that you're craving. And that's one of those. So let's talk about that.
I've read a theory and it seems like it makes sense to me. The reason that you crave it is because if you're cramping, you're craving the magnesium.
Okay. And
chocolate just happens to be one of the tastiest sources of magnesium. So really your body probably wants the magnesium, which can reduce cramping. And it could also, I would imagine there's something about the sweetness and the comfort of it, but primarily it is your body needs more magnesium to help control the cramping.
Interesting. Yes. And it's funny because that's one of the things that I have to buy every month for my daughter. She likes the dark chocolate covered strawberries in the frozen section. And she says that's her period snack. So
amazing. That's a great snack.
It is.
I'm having my snack all the time. I haven't found those. I need to find these.
Yes, I think they're called Truly, the name of the company, and they're quite expensive. You could easily make this at home and just dip some strawberries and throw them in the freezer. But sometimes the lazy way to go is the way that is the easiest. So
understandable. Yes. We all have to find what works for us. So
exactly.
My other favorite fun fact, it's not a fun fact, it's a fact about dark chocolate is that it can help balance vaginal pH.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Okay, that's interesting. Is it more acidic, or do you know if it's more acidic?
I assume that it's funny. I keep that fact in the back of my head because I love it. And I never dug into which way is it going. It is an acidic food, so it's got to be, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm guessing boric acid is one of those things that is acidic and it helps to balance the pH.
Right.
So I'm assuming that this also ingested would help. But that's interesting. I never knew that too. So that's maybe another reason why we're craving it during that time of the month, right?
It could very well be, yes, because everything down there is changing. So yeah, something that helps balance would be good. But it has to be dark chocolate. I do want to mention milk chocolate really lacks most of the nutritional benefits you'll get from dark chocolate. The darker the better, because obviously milk chocolate has so much dairy and sugar added that you've diluted the nutrition. So
absolutely.
It's still and you should still have it if you enjoy it, but it's not going to help you.
Exactly. So looking for that dark chocolate is going to be the best. And if you are going to make those chocolate covered strawberries at home, you could find them anywhere. The dark chocolate, you could really find that anywhere now. My favorite place is Trader Joe's. I don't know. I love Trader Joe's, and they always have they're like little chocolate chips, but they're dark chocolate, and they're really
right. Yeah, those little. Yes, they do. They also have dark chocolate bars that are really good for cooking. I use them.
Okay.
Fill up and use them for cooking. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Because I've never done that before. So what a great tip.
People may be wondering, because there was a little scandal maybe a year ago about Trader Joe's dark chocolate, which is that it was one of many brands that they found lead in.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, there are so many things in our world that there are lead in, but everything that I read, aside from, once you got past the sensationalist headlines, it was really a fairly modest amount that is safe for individuals who don't have any issues with heavy metals. But I want to just put it out there that it happened, and I still use it.
Okay, that's a good point. And what's interesting, because it's a naturally occurring element, right? And so it's going to be found in the soil, and it's going to be found in fruits and vegetables. Obviously, paying attention to that is something that you should do, but also know that it's around. It's not like a lead-free diet. Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. So I would love to delve more into what other foods could help women, because we mentioned chocolate, with their sexual desire.
Oh, goodness. So my two favorite like date foods, like the one to have for the romantic evening.
Okay.
And they will have an impact on both men and women, are chili peppers.
To eat them or to not eat them?
To eat them. Yeah.
Okay.
Plan something spicy for your romantic dinner, because the chilies are not only historically aphrodisiac, and chilies are surprisingly nutritious, although most of us don't eat them in great quantities, so you're not getting a lot of that nutrition. But what they do, even in tiny quantities, is they raise your body temperature. They get you a little more in the mood to tear off your clothing. They can make your tongue tingle. They will make your lips plump up a little bit, give you pillowy, soft lips. And they sometimes will give you, depending on your skin type, you may get a flush, which to someone across the table from you will equate to a sexual flush. They'll get a little turned on from looking at you even. So it's a fun food for a romantic encounter. And then if you don't tolerate spice very well, which I understand, I have a hard time with it. My backup is ginger, which is more subtle.
Also spicy.
Yeah, but it has a lot of the same properties, same benefits. Ginger is also great for digestion. It's helping you digest all of that before you move on to the bedroom, which is awesome. And it's also delicious and versatile. And yeah, those are two of my favorites.
What great ideas. And that I had never really considered, because I would think spicy food would be like, it could cause your stomach to be upset. But some people do have that.
And for some people, that is true. So then go for ginger.
Then go for ginger, exactly, which is great for digestion. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. It's a great tip. And one of my favorite things to do in the morning is get greens off my tower. And I do practice what I preach. And I'm always talking about good nutrition for health and for sexual health. And it is necessary for people to eat at least 10 servings of fruits or vegetables per day. So I get my greens right off of my tower garden. And today I harvested a couple of poles for lunch today, and maybe have dinner tonight. So I just wanted to share with you what I do on a daily basis to make sure that I get all my fruits and veggies. I know that you have ideas on what not to eat when you're on a date.
Yeah.
And so what sorts of things would you say, stay away from these foods if you're going on a hot date and you're planning to take it home afterwards?
So it's funny. I have done a lot of consulting for chefs to plan their Valentine's menu or a romance package.
Okay.
And they always want to go for the luxury items. They'll want to do like a Wagyu beef steak or something really fancy and really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to break their hearts and say, no, please don't do that. I'd rather you serve chicken, which they never want to do. So stay away from heavier foods, pastas, cream sauces, red meats. The exception to that might be wild game. So you want like meats that are lower in things that are easy to digest, meats that are lower in saturated fats, foods that are easier to digest. If you like fish or shellfish, that is a great choice as an alternate, or mushrooms. But yes, I always say stay away from all of the heavy foods because they're going to send all of the blood to your stomach. And all of the blood's going to be in your stomach, helping digest all of this heavy food. But you need good blood flow to the sex organs. You want to have that arousal, that climax. It's not going to happen. You're going to go home and take a nap.
That's so true. And also red meats have cholesterol, which can also cause clogging of your arteries, which can also cause clogging of the blood vessels around your genital area, which causes erectile dysfunction. That is the reason. It's usually, if you're talking about the physical manifestation of erectile dysfunction and not like thinking about the mental and all of the other emotional stuff that goes into it, right? Just physically, when you have decreased blood flow because you have blockages, and you need to break those blockages up. And that's actually one of the treatments that I do in my practice. It's called acoustic wave therapy, and it unblocks the blockages in those blood vessels. But if you avoid meats, especially red meats and anything that has cholesterol, you're going to have less blockages and you'll have more blood flow. So good point. Not a big old steak on date night.
No,
keep it light. Keep it light. And
in general, I do encourage reduce your red meat consumption. On my list of the 10 best foods for men, I recommend bison for meat lovers as an alternate, because if you still want that flavor and that texture, it's a great alternative. It's not necessarily, it's not necessarily the greatest thing to eat all the time, but it's expensive. So most people probably wouldn't be tempted to. It becomes more of a treat, a luxury item, but it is far lower in saturated fat. It's higher in protein. It's by far the superior choice.
Interesting. I've never had bison. So yeah, I've seen it on the menu a couple times.
I'm not a meat eater, but I enjoy bison occasionally.
Yeah, I'm not either, but it's interesting. I've seen it on the menu a couple times and I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned seafood, and I love seafood. And I would say that I'm more of a pescatarian than anything else. And I've always heard that oysters were an aphrodisiac. And for me, I think of oysters as being such a sensory experience because you hold them with your hand, you like squirt lemon on them, and then you're like slurping them into your mouth. So like the whole act of eating oysters to me is like a sexy, fun thing to do. What makes it besides that, what makes it an aphrodisiac?
Essentially, I think that's a huge part of it, both historically and just besides the fact that it's almost a cliche, but it's so suggestive. If someone pulls that out at a romantic, if someone invited me over for dinner and pulled out a plate of oysters, I'd be like, oh, I know where you're going, right?
Yes.
but they are nutritious. Oysters are extremely nutritious. We were talking about like good protein sources that are low in saturated fat and cholesterol. Oysters. Oysters are a great choice for that reason. And they're also they're high in zinc. They're also, in terms of protein and zinc, they're easily digestible versus some of the other sources. So you're actually getting those benefits of the protein, of the zinc. And zinc is one of those minerals that's well known as being essential to good blood flow. So right back to where we were, right where we started. So that
flow, yes.
Yeah.
Blood flow, right? So, and zinc
Oysters
is
help
high in
control
zinc. Okay, so that makes sense. It actually helps blood flow, which is going to help your erection and help your clitoris get engorged.
Exactly.
Yes, amazing. That's so cool. I didn't realize that they were super high in zinc. Let's kind of segue into talking about anal sex.
Okay.
Because I know that a lot of people, they think anal sex is like icky. And I personally think that preparing for anal sex with an enema is icky. And if that was the case, I would like never want to have anal sex. But I know that if you eat a diet high in fiber, you don't need to do that. So what sorts of things do you recommend for eating to get your body ready for anal sex?
Well, in general, I always encourage eating a reasonably high fiber diet for your sex life in general. It just keeps you feeling energized and it banishes bloat and all of those things. And so for anal, it's all the same for anal, whether it's for anal sex or whether it's to avoid being bloated, whatever it is, hydration is huge. Hydration is huge. As far as foods go, one of my favorite, like high fiber, really scrubs you out foods is chia pudding. Chia seeds are a good cleansing high fiber choice. So that would be at the top of my list, I think, would be chia pudding.
Yes. And I love talking about eating lots of fruits and vegetables because as Americans, we eat about 1.5 fruits and vegetables in our diets every day, unfortunately. And we should really be eating at least 10. So our diets are very low in fiber, right? So increasing your intake of fruits and vegetables is so important. Increase the fiber, right? And so that's going to help. But the chia pudding, if you've never had chia pudding before, if you've never cooked with chia, it just absorbs so much fluid. And so it cleanses you out. You know?
No, I don't recommend. Some people will be tempted. Chia seeds are good. They'll just toss them on their salad. They really do need to be soaked.
Okay, there you go. Give us all the tips.
They need to be pre-bloated. I guess it's
They have to already be filled with whatever that is that becomes like mushy.
Not nothing you want to just throw on your salad. What you can do if you want like the lazy way to do it is to throw them into a smoothie in the blender, but give them a couple minutes to absorb, absorb some liquid. But that's an easy way. That also is an easy way to get more fruits, more vegetables, and hydration as well. We forget that we get some of our hydration from our diet, but and primarily that's fruits and vegetables. So if you're not getting enough fruits and vegetables, you actually need to drink more water or more hydrating beverages. So it's so much easier to just eat enough fruits and vegetables. It's going to help everything.
Yes. I'd much rather eat than drink. I don't know. For me, when I'm eating, I will have a big plate of salad or whatever, and I'll drink this much water because I'd rather be eating. People can drink the whole glass of water. And I'm like, how do you drink all of that and then eat too? Because to me, I feel like everything would be like up to my throat.
I drink all day long between.
Yes, exactly. Between, yes. So hydrating throughout the day. And that is a tip also for incontinence. If you have incontinence, if you're sipping throughout the day, your body is using that hydration throughout the day and you have to pee less, but you're hydrating more. So keeping a water bottle with you at all times and sipping throughout the day is so key. So good point. And I love that tip for anal sex, having a chia pudding instead of doing an enema. Oh my goodness.
So much better. So definitely.
Definitely. I want to do a little role play with you if you are game.
Okay.
And I was thinking about that movie, and maybe you've seen it before, 9.5 Weeks.
Okay, sure.
And that sex scene with, I think it's Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger, right?
Yes.
And I love that movie. And I remember seeing it. I don't remember how old I was. I remember seeing it and going, oh my gosh, I want to do that. You know,
No,
that is hot.
it definitely does. Yes.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, it leaves an impression.
Yes, yes.
That scene stays with you. Yes.
Absolutely. So we're going to do a little role play, and you're going to be my nutrition coach, or what's the word that we want to call you? The aphrodisiac coach, or the food expert, right?
Okay.
And you're going to help me to create a sexy scene similar to that for a date night that I'm going to be having. Okay, perfect. So action. Hi, Amy. I'm so excited to meet you today. I have some ideas that I want to share with you.
Great. Let's hear it.
So I have always been so impressed with the sex scene, or it was actually not even a sex scene. It was more like an eating scene in the movie 9.5 Weeks. And yes, and I always thought that was so hot, and it was so sensual. And I would love to recreate something like that for me and my partner. Do you think you can help me to do that?
All right, let's do that. Now, the first thing I need to know is, like, what kinds of food do you like? Because and more importantly, what kind of foods does your partner like?
So it's funny because when we go out to dinner, I always say that we're in a female-led relationship, because he always says, you order, because no matter what, if I order something and he orders something, he always wants what I have. So I just order at the restaurant. So we love fruits and vegetables. We love fish. And so let's start there. And I love fruit is obviously, I love
We're
fruit.
going to pack your fridge with all of these foods that you can pull out one by one. Is that
okay?
That's what I'm envisioning. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that does. Would you put it in little separate packages?
Let's see.
Were you already prepared ahead of time and then
I think you should have it already in your fridge. I'm picturing you just on the floor, like the heck with the table. Right?
Okay, I like that.
We're going to recreate this scene. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Like the fridge maybe you have a section of the fridge that you've dedicated to this. Maybe a platter of already cut up fruits or something that you could feed one another. Maybe a bowl of chocolate sauce to dip the fruit.
Yes.
Or maybe you could also do it with vegetables. You could do a vegetable platter with something like, you could do hummus. It just isn't sexy. It's very good for your sexual health, but not sexy. But maybe a pesto. You could dip vegetables in and feed them to each other. You could have fruits, chocolate sauce. You can't do that scene without whipped cream.
Oh, yes.
That just
cream for sure.
There has to be whipped cream waiting for you. Now, you could go the aerosol can route, which maybe isn't the best choice for the planet, but really gives the feeling of the film. Or you could just have a bowl with a spoon and put it on the fruit, put it on one another, whatever it is. Just be conscious of whatever you're going to wear that evening. Probably as little as possible, and things.
I was just about to say, hopefully nothing.
Well, hopefully nothing. But if you turn out with clothing, I'd say as little as possible, and things you don't care about. You don't want to worry about your clothing, right? When you're doing this.
Definitely.
So let's see. You're probably going to want something more substantial than just fruits and vegetables and whipped cream. But what could we do that's not too? You could have a platter of oysters waiting. But if you don't want to do oysters, you could do a different shellfish. It could be mussels. It could be clams. It could be shrimp. Whatever it is you want. If you want to add in a little Daryl Hannah there, it could be a lobster that you rip open together.
Okay. That sounds fun.
Yeah. But this is going to be messy. We're going to make this messy. So that means that lobster, just a lobster tail or two lobster tails that you just rip open could be the thing. So what do you think?
I love that. Maybe with to dip some melted butter.
And
some melted butter and just drizzle it everywhere. That would be so hot and sexy.
That sounds delicious. And if you like things spicy, maybe add a little spice to that.
Okay, good idea.
To that butter. right?
Uh-huh.
Or alternatively, you could add a little spice to the chocolate, the dipping chocolate
That's
for the dessert
so
portion. That would
great.
work. Either of those would work very well. We'll need a beverage. So alcohol, not alcohol, what do you prefer?
I could go for some bubbly.
I was going to say that would be my first choice. I was hoping you'd say, alcohol, because I'd be like, it's got to be sparkling wine, champagne,
Yes.
something like that, which will go really nicely. It'll go nicely with the shellfish. It will be beautiful with the desserts. It will just be a sexy sort of almost a digestive. Those little bubbles will help everything go down. It'll be so much fun. I want to do this meal now.
So do I. End scene. I seriously want to do this because you actually created an entire meal. It wasn't just strawberries dipped in chocolate and some whipped cream. I mean, oysters, lobster. This was like a decadent, delicious meal that you could.
It was a very decadent meal, I will say.
Yeah, that you could actually have for dinner and then have them carry you up to the bedroom.
Absolutely. Why even bother going to the bedroom at this point?
Or not, just right there on the kitchen floor. I love it. This has been such a fun conversation, and I want to make sure that my listeners can find you so that they can create their own amazing dinners or experiences for themselves. Tell us where we can find you.
So the best place to find me is on eatsomething.sexy.com and sign up for my email list because I send tips out on a weekly basis like this. So you can sign up for it from any page of the website. I also want to mention I am the author of 5 aphrodisiac cookbooks. So if you like any of my recipes, you can find them all on Amazon. Just explore Eat Something Sexy and you'll find more information about my books, about my newsletter, and some great recipes and more information there as well. So there you go.
Fantastic. Eat Something Sexy, guys. You have to check that out. And I want to just make sure that people can find my website too. And I want to mention here that on pleaseme.online, on this particular link, and I'll make sure that I include it in the show notes, there are two recipe books. One is for energy bites and one is a smoothie book. So if you want some extra recipes to increase your nutrition, those are some recipes of my, they're not really mine, but I'm sharing them with you. They're on my website. So you can check that out as well. So this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for being here today, Amy.
Oh my gosh, I've had so much fun. Thank you for having me. I hope your listeners got some good tips. And
until next time, bye-bye. Did you know that we need at least 10 servings of fruits and veggies in our diet daily for optimal health? Yet the average American only gets 1.5 servings on average per day. Knowing this statistic led me to start sharing with my clients a product that can increase the nutrition that you get from fruits and veggies and has been a game changer for my personal health. Many gold standard studies have shown that these products are an easy button to support gut health, skin health, cardiovascular health, and endothelial health, among many other benefits. I tell all my clients about them who come to me seeking health coaching for improved health. Check out pleaseme.online to order your fruit and veggie and berry encapsulated produce today.